Hey, what's up everybody, BlackClover here, and today I have for you another video of BlackClover Mobile. And inside of today's video, guys, we're going to be going over everything you should know about traits and pretty much what is going to be the best traits for each of your classes here, whether they're an attacker, a defender, things like that. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Now, before we do get into this, once again, I have to say thank you for all the support. And two, I must tell you this. This is something that's going to be factual to an extent, as well as a part of my opinion. So don't always think, hey, I'm dictating what you must do on your account. This is pretty much everything that I've been actually experimenting with. And so I'm going to give you guys some of the knowledge I've been experiencing with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Now, for some of you guys, you probably have not messed with this too much here. I've ended up doing it for a little bit for Yami, but for one of the characters that I'm going to be preparing, it's going to be Real here. Now, this was fairly interesting. The trait system is literally located right below this fourth here, or at least this third function here, in which you unlock it pretty much later on in the story a little bit, as well as once you get yourself a character up to UR. You're finally able to at least get this little function here, and pretty much you have your three sections. You have the attack section up here, the defense section, and the just regular healing section. Now, of course, all these sections are able to be used for every last character. You don't have to unlock these sections specifically for one character typing. So pretty much everything is going to be perfect where you put on your characters themselves. Now, lucky for you guys today, I actually ended up translating a lot of this type of stuff, and we're going to be going in order. So pretty much if you're looking at a new character or anything like this, it's going to go from these two, and I'm going to slowly move myself to the right by two, telling you guys exactly each one, and then pretty much telling you guys exactly what I say are the best for each of these classes. So without further ado, let's get into this. Since we are looking at Real here, who is actually kind of a defense class, if I'm right here instead of a support, no, he is a supporter class, that's what it is. More of a debuffer here, and we're going to be trying to at least make this man pretty much play off of this. Now, for Real himself, he is a magic character, so for him it's going to be a little bit different. Now, each character, based on their at least actual stats, whether they're magic based and stuff like that, will determine their traits. So going off the traits, just naming them off here, we end up having the wave trait here. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually shift this to my other screen. The wave trait's first one is called the Frenzy of Battle. At the start of a wave here, the affinity rate is increased by 2.5%, granting yourself a buff up to 5 times. Now, affinity rate pretty much is nothing too crazy. It's one of those things that you are just like, it's more like when you deal damage with your other partner or your link, it's going to give you a little bit of buff up to 5 times. I really don't care for this one too much. Now, do take into account that, of course, if you're using this, whatever is next to it is going to be the one that you're also going to have to use, most likely. So either if you move to the right and it's these two, you have to use these two. And then if it's like this, you have to use these two instead. Now, I don't really care for the affinity rate, so I would definitely tell you guys to stay away from this, really. It's not something that's really worth it for most characters. After doing some testing around to see like how it was, it's definitely not something that you really want to at least try out for yourself and actually try to get the character of. Now, of course, later on in the game, when we're further in, you're going to want to get every last one of these traits up, because they're all going to have their own little fits. But for the start piece of the game, you really don't want to do that. Now, based on how we have these two here, this next one actually is one of the few traits that I actually like the most here, which is actually the attack power increase. So if I go ahead and change to the other one here, this will literally get you your attack power increase by 7%, and it's actually connected to a very good extra slot piece here. We're coming into our second one, which happens to be damage dealt by 5%, called Sharp Mind. Now, damage dealt by 5% pretty much is also amazing here when you're dealing with characters who are especially offensive. This can definitely come in handy. Real is one of those characters that's kind of like in that little section of that. He does deal some pretty decent damage, and when it comes to attacker type classes that you guys are going to be looking for while doing these type of traits, though it can be kind of helpful to have these two together. Now, coming down to one of the more overpowered type sides that I like to use here is not including just the regular 5 hit, which we end up getting the damage dealt, which is from Sharp Mind, but we have the next one, which is critical damage 10%. These are my best two I like to pair with any attacker. One, because you're getting that extra 5%, that's absolutely amazing. And then that 10% extra critical damage is just the icing on the cake. My Yami uses this quite a lot, so if I can get myself my extra 10% from ulting the person, so my next hit is absolutely amazing with my gear set, and then I have all these attack power buffs, he can hit pretty dang hard. So when it comes down to an attacker, I do recommend these two being your choices, but of course it depends on your attacker and what you're actually going to be focusing on. This is more of a PvP type PvE type of set. Really, it's just overall just brute unga bunga force here, so this is the one I definitely recommend for people. But then we have, of course, the last two. Now the last two aren't anything too special here. They're all right type stuff here, but they're nothing too crazy, in which we end up having ourselves the when attacking boss type enemies attack, you end up gaining 10% increase in damage dealt buff, which is pretty dang decent. This is more of a PvE only type of deal. You would probably put this on whatever you're trying to fight. Like, let's say you're trying to fight Noelle, for example. Seeing she is a boss type of character here, you would end up putting this on, which is pretty dang busted. It's actually really good for a PvE, but it's mainly for bossing. So make sure this is only on attack type bossing characters, or more like characters that you're going to use for bossing themselves. As for this one here, we have magic power. Now, magic power is specifically what I'm going to be going for real himself, because magic power is what he's built off of. So most likely I'm going to end up using either these two for the bossing and this as well, or either I'm going to end up using the wave. Now, the wave one is not something I really agree with, as I did say earlier, but real isn't really meant for bossing too much here, so I would most likely end up using the wave just to actually benefit a little bit off of that, and which is going to help out his link as well. But that comes up to these terms with our attack type characters, or at least our attack type traits. Those traits are going to be very interesting there. You guys, of course, are going to be able to look at this as many times as possible, but this is just the first part. We still have the defense type part here, and we still have at least all of the I want to say the I'm just gonna call it support part over there, in which I'm gonna straight up say it right now. You guys do not have to have all of these. Okay, you don't need to have them all. It is great to have them all, of course, because they all will help out your character no matter what. But for example, if your character is like a pure one supporter, right, there isn't a necessity to have every last what's it called, every last support thing, or I mean every last attack thing on a supporter, because quite literally it's just one of those type of things that this is something that like you can decide if you want to do. Now, going into at least our defense type of categories here, let me check and see if I actually have everything the right way here, because I was setting up just beforehand, and I think some of these I kind of counted wrong. So wait, 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6. So each of these are going to be 6 of these. I'm pretty sure I counted right. Hopefully, let me make sure, because I started so weird when I was doing this. I was trying to make sure everything was right. Kind of started a little bit late today, so forgive me. But let's see. There we go. There's the defense power here. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, which I'm pretty sure we're still, yeah, we're on the blue side of things, so that's perfect. All right, so we have the blue side, which is the defense here. Now, defense is going to be kind of interesting because this is more for the tankier side of your character, in which you're going to end up starting off with these here. Now, coming into terms, at least with this right here, we're going to start with defense increase, and this increases your defense power by 20%. So this is pretty interesting. This is probably one of the ones I'm definitely going to go with real for off rip, because like, one, the man he needs that extra defense power. This is probably good for Mars, different characters that you know, like Radies and stuff like that, who have that high defense. You're probably going to run this on them because this is absolutely amazing. Coming down to the next one here, which is the wave side of things, which this one is another one of those type of deals that I don't agree with. It's called Patience, in which at the start of the wave, you apply yourself defense 4% increase and critical resistance 2% increase. This is one of these, of course, PvE oriented type of deals. I'm using my real Morley for at least PvP, but he can't come in handy with this. So this is going to be probably one of those like if I'm going to be running 20% defense increase, I could also run this to help me out in PvE, more likely for survivability when it comes to the harder freaking dungeons, harder mobs and stuff like that. You possibly will need this per wave, seeing that when they crit you, they could possibly one-shot you. So this can come in handy quite a lot. Now, moving our way down at least 2 here, so you guys can actually see that here. Moving our way down here, got to make sure, which I'm going straight downwards here. So the 2 that we just did were these 2. 20% defense increase, and this one with the wave. We're going to move our way down twice, and you're going to see these 2 here. Now, we're looking at this. This was probably, let's see, this is the block, yes, here it is, which is Indomitable. This one is blocking debuff effects here themselves. So for you guys here, you can see that it's going to be blocks debuffs for 1 turn when HP is 35% or less. Now, this is kind of more like a, I want to say a PvP related type of deal. I'm gonna be honest, this probably won't help you inside of PvE too much, because one, your characters are probably gonna get smacked with how the PvE guys are going. You're gonna need that extra crit res, you're gonna need that extra defense in general. But how this will end up working here, it can only be paired with itself being the 20% defense increase, or be paired with the other one that's up above it, in which I don't really like it too much. I really don't like it too much. It's not a really OP, at least advice type of deal. So I definitely say this is going to be one of the ones that you're not going to be using. But the one up above it is actually pretty interesting as well. So if we go ahead and switch back to my screen, the one up above it here is this one here with a 10% on it. This 10% is critical resistance by 10%. Now, it's actually really good to have that. That kind of makes up for not having that 20%, or at least having the wave type of ordeal with that. So you can take a little bit and just take off some of the non-advantages that we're doing with that. But it's kind of iffy for a defense character. It's kind of decent for a replacement, but the secondary one, as I did say, is not too well. Now, you can always pair this with the next 2 here, which the next 2 are going to be these right here, in which this one gives you is called Guardian. Guardian gives yourself toughness by 10%, which you guys can see on my screen here. It's a buff when receiving damage from boss type enemies. Now, this is where you want the PvE related stuff. Now remember, I said the last one can come in handy. When you're dealing with PvE related stuff, you do want to have that extra 10% crit resistance, and this furtherly here helps you actually live even longer, having that toughness buff as well when receiving at least damage from boss type mobs. Definitely a PvE related one here, and alongside of it we have something a little bit else. This other one is called Maximum Strength Increase, which gives you a max HP increase by 5%. It's kind of iffy. If I was going to be doing something when it comes to like PvE related, I would definitely stick with the bottom 2, and which would be recommended for all defense types, I would definitely say. And so instead of that one here, you would end up most likely running, especially if you're going for PvE related stuff, you would run these 2, because these 2 will definitely be amazing. Remember, we have, of course, that critical res 10% there, and then we have the toughness buff, so that's something you would like to look into when it does come down to at least your defense related characters. Now lastly, we're going to come into the support characters real quick, guys. So give me a second to actually pull up those for you all. So that was 220, and yes, this kind of took me some time to actually like test certain things as well, look at some of these things. So I would much appreciate it if you guys go ahead and smack that like button as well. It does help me out quite a lot. If you are new, I'm going to be doing, of course, guides like this all the time. Have been doing them for crazy amounts, and you guys seem to love them a lot. But let's go ahead and get to the last few. Pulling up these last few into my, I want to say at least my, what's it called? Internet browser real quick. Because holy moly, I've been busy today. I've been all over the place. But coming down to the last 6, if I'm right here. Let me make sure that's 28. Yes, coming down to the last 6 here is our support ones. Now the support ones are also very, very important here. They actually have some decent buffs here in all. We're going to be starting with these 2, so you guys will be able to see them immediately. And That first one that we're going to be looking at is going to be the damage mitigation increase here, which is the 10% right here that we're looking at. And which what the damage mitigation increase does here is pretty much you're getting yourself a buff, or at least a increase in damage reduction by 10%. This is permanent, of course. This cannot be cleansed or anything like that. This is something that's just like a passive for you. So this is pretty decent, especially when it comes for PvP and PvE. And it is paired with this next one here. The next one deals with SP called Quick, in which if SP is 2 or less at the start of a turn, you're able to gain SP. Now, it's kind of iffy to use a little bit here. It helps more likely in PvP when they start to take away SP away from you. Kind of happened to be earlier this morning when I was actually fighting someone and they used they used a skill and they took away my SP. That kind of comes in handy with this, though. It's situational, so you guys have to take that with a grain of salt. More likely, I would probably pair it with this bottom one, but we'll get to that later. Now, getting to our second two here that we're looking at, which are these two. One of them being more of a healing type of skill here, and that would be increased HP recovery received. So let's go ahead and swap back for you all here, which we're looking at the increased HP received here. You get yourself stamina recovery received by 5%. Now, stamina is kind of like speed here, which you guys, if you have not done that yet and actually seen a little bit about that, I'll talk about that in a different video. Pretty much it's how fast you can get back up to the plate or get back on the bar to go another hit, or at least another round. This extra stamina increase is actually very, very important if you're playing PvP. You're able to get back to the plate very, very quickly, including with your speed. So that's pretty nice to have. Now, the next one that is right next to it is going to be this guy here called Determination, in which if damage is successfully reduced by blocking a debuff, you're applying it to yourself for 1 turn. It's only successfully reduced, you will end up getting that block debuff applied to self. Now, this is kind of, once again, situational. Paired with them two, I wouldn't really say it's weird. I mean, technically in the meta that's going on right now, when we have Lotus and stuff like that, these two actually could be a killer combo for defense, or at least support characters. So do think about that. But it's still kind of one of those things that's okay-ish here. I'm not too sure how I would mix it, if I would pair with the other one that's right next to it, or if I would just keep it alone. But we're still trying to see. Now, coming down to our last two groupings here, in which, let me go ahead and move into these ones. We are looking at accuracy plus 5% and penetration plus 5%. I don't see this one needed, to be honest. The accuracy is nice to have for certain characters, especially seeing that, of course, these are all the same on all the things here. This would be something that if you're going to be using like a debuffer or something like that, you would probably want to do this, because you want to hit your at least your hits a lot more when it comes, and be more accurate to actually hit those debuffs. This would be the one for you. This would probably be very, very nice to probably put on Lotus. You're getting that penetration rate as well, so that's absolutely nice to have. Or if you need a bleed with Yami, that would be actually pretty decent to have as well. Getting paired with the other one here that's right next to it is going to be the Mage's Blessing, which this one is called at the start of the turn. There is a 20% chance that skills cooldowns will be reduced by 1 turn. I don't really care for this one too much. I'm not sure if it goes, because this was one of the few I didn't get to test out. I'm not sure if this goes for every turn, or I guess it's like, because it does say at the start of a turn. So I'm guessing every turn it can do this. And it's like reducing it by one turn, but it's a 20% chance. For PvE, well, actually, no, I'm gonna scratch that. For PvP, I can definitely see this being very, very helpful. So let's say I put it on Blue Yami. You know, that AoE hit that he has does a ton of damage. It'd be nice if you can actually get that to refresh. Let's say you used it last round and it refreshes the next round. That's 4 people you're hitting twice in a row, which is kind of crazy. And I can definitely say it can be very, very important to use. Now, I would definitely say like each of these guys will have their own positions when it does come down to it, whether it's going to be an attacker, supporter, stuff like that. This one is definitely one of those that it's probably good for at least a attacker, or at least a good defender, depending on like if they have, or debuffer, if they have those skills that they need to either give yourself a shield again for the next round, give yourself those debuffs. It's just going to come down to anything here. But this is pretty much the breakdown for this. I gave my piece on like whether they're good for attackers, defenders, debuffers, stuff like that. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Pretty much, I'm going to be breaking these down as much as possible. If I have to redo the video later on, when the channel progresses and people still don't understand certain things, I will definitely do that again as well, because these are probably one of those like nitpicky type of deals in the game, but they make a vast change in your at least gameplay. So without further ado, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please smack that like button with your forehead. Consider subscribing if you are new. I'm doing daily Black Clover Mobile and videos here. We do have a stream at 2 o'clock, so be sure to come for that. It's going to be 2 p.m. EST, and it's going to be going to 4 p.m. EST. So till next time, everybody, stay safe, stay sharp, and stay determined, and peace out.